Boyce Watkins' rhetoric surrounding the coronavirus has been flat out irresponsible and dangerous. And if I have to be labeled as a clout chaser, a coon, a Uncle Tom, a Sambo, and an agent to highlight that, then I will do so. Because at this point, it's not about how many celebrities are getting sick. It's not about how many people are dying on a daily basis. It's not about comparing this to how many people die in a car accident.
The entire country shut down. The stock market's lost trillions of dollars. And I still haven't seen a single celebrity with the coronavirus show symptoms. I mean, shouldn't they be coming out in stretchers and caskets?
Because in Boyce Watkins' mind, that's what he's trying to make the comparison to. It's about the spread and about whether or not we have the healthcare infrastructure in place to handle a pandemic on this level. There's something known as the R naught factor. And the coronavirus has an R naught factor of 2.2. That means for every one person that is infected with this, they are potentially going to spread this to 2.2 people, whereas the regular flu has an R naught factor between 1 and 1.3. And what makes this even more dangerous is many people like myself, millennials and younger, many of us are carriers. So if you don't self-quarantine, and they're already predicting that more than 46 to 56% of the people, the population here in the US, is going to somehow contract this, now you have to start thinking about how many people are you potentially going to spread this to. And then now you have to start thinking about, if we get to Boyce Watkins' doomsday scenario, where we have hundreds of people dying every day, what is that going to look like? What is the hospitals going to look like when you have thousands of people who are freaking out when we're already in the height of the flu season and they're running into the emergency room every day? Do we have enough medical supplies? Do we have enough masks, right? Do we have enough medicine? Do we have enough staff in place? ICU beds? Do we have ventilators? Oh, no, we don't have those things because many of those things are manufactured and shipped over here from China. Well, China just shut down their economy and shut down the supply chain. And even though they're getting back online, they're going to keep many of these supplies for themselves. So it's not about how many people die in a car accident versus how many people die from the flu. It's about you spreading it because, see, if you quarantine one place, like I live here in New York City, if you find a cluster in the South Bronx, but you listened to Boyce Watkins and you said, hey, celebrities aren't dying and people aren't getting sick, and you travel all over the Bronx, you potentially spread it everywhere. So once we get it in control in the Bronx, we're going to get these peaks and valleys, and then people go back outside because you went to stores in the northern Bronx and you hopped on a subway. Well, guess what? When people go back outside, they're potentially going to get sick again. So now instead of taking 90 days to solve this problem, it's going to take anywhere from a year to a year and a half to solve this problem. See, and again, when you take a step back and you start looking at the data and the trajectory, and you look at past pandemics or epidemics like the Spanish flu or like the Ebola outbreak, you don't have to have a PhD to understand. It's something called modeling. And if you model those pandemics with this, you could begin to see how this could potentially spread very quickly and very fast. So take a step back and use your brain and say to yourself, it's not about celebrities dying. It's not about how many people get sick, because at that point, if you have people dying like that, then it's too late. Case in point, New York City has over 4,000 confirmed cases. I think as of today, we may have the most cases here in the US. Start putting on your 3D thinking caps. I live here in a building. I live on the 19th floor. Let me show you. Let's say I'm infected with it. I'm a millennial. I'm a carrier. Let me show you how easy it is to spread this very quickly. I wake up in the morning. I cough from my hand. I go outside. I go push the elevator button for the elevator to come. I get on the elevator. There's other people on the elevator with me. They're saying that this is potentially airborne. So all of those people in the elevator with me can potentially get sick. I then go and press buttons on that elevator. I get off the elevator. I go shake someone's hand at the front door and say, hello, good morning. I then push the door to go out my building. I then walk to the corner store. I dig in my pocket. I take out cash. I hand the cash to the guy at the bodega. He takes that cash, he puts it in the cash register. That cash is potentially going to end up in someone else's hands that can potentially be infected. I then take my Metro card out because, hey, we live in New York City. Everyone takes public transportation. I then swipe it. I touch the turnstile. I push the turnstile. I then get on the train. I touch the pole. to hold myself up on a train. I'm in a train car with 50, 60, even 100 other people who I'm potentially spreading this to. I'm also touching the pole. How many other people are going to come behind me now and touch that pole? Oh, by the way, I go to work. I then hug someone at work, kiss a lady on the cheek, shake a guy's hand at work. Then later on at lunch, I go to Starbucks or go get me something to eat. This time I don't use cash. I use my debit card. I put it in the machine. I enter my PIN number. Oh, I just touched 4 buttons that people are going to come behind me and touch as well. Later on that day, I go to the gym. I hit the bar. I do some pull-ups. I bench press. I get on the treadmill. I sweat. I go lift some dumbbells. How many people are going to come behind me and touch that gym equipment? And then I go home. So now, all of these surfaces that I've touched, all of these people whom I've come into contact with, I've potentially spread this to them, who are then going to go home to their loved ones, their friends, and their family members. Do you begin to start to see with an R0 factor of 2.2 how quickly and easy this is to spread? And as I said before, we don't have the infrastructure in place to handle thousands of people running to the hospital. So use your brain and don't look at how many celebrities are dying. Think about the spread. Now, I'm not here to debate with you about whether or not the Illuminati, the Bilderberg, the Rothschilds, the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the ancestors are getting retribution against America. I'm not here to debate any of that foolishness because whether they did or didn't create it, the reality is it's here. And whether or not you know where it originated from isn't going to change the fact that you could potentially get this and you can give this to one of your family members and potentially kill them. That's what you should be thinking about. At a certain point, I love a good conspiracy theory, but I also understand science. And it doesn't matter who created it, whether it was created in a lab, it can be spread and it can kill you. There are people right now that are dying from this. And you don't want to be the reason why one of your grandparents potentially gets sick and die. So use some common sense and some logic and reasoning and just take a step back. I see people going on trips to Miami and going to Jamaica and these different places because trips are cheap. So again, you're potentially spreading this and taking this from a 90-day thing, and now it could potentially be a year to a year and a half issue to get under control. What you should be doing is, let's go best case scenario. This ends up being, blown way out of proportion, and you've simply quarantined yourself for 2 weeks or a month. You have some supplies. You have, some cash on hand. You have medical supplies. You have food in your house. And this thing blows over. You go back to work and nothing happens. Well, the only thing you did was you had some cash on hand, whether you have some gold or silver, crypto, whatever currency you want to use. I'm an investor in gold and silver and I believe in crypto, but whatever it may be, you have that stuff at home. And you just quarantine yourself for 2 weeks to a month and nothing happens. Great, you just have some extra stuff. But what if the worst case scenario happens and you go out here playing around because you listened to some guy on the internet who said celebrities aren't dying, and now you potentially contract this and bring this home and get one of your family members sick and kill them? Can you live with that on your conscience? Because see, Boyce is not going to have to answer for that. And for this man to have a PhD, to be so tone deaf, like either he's doing this because he wants to stir the pot, or, you have to really question the validity of what did he learn in school. Because again, you don't have to be an infectious disease expert to understand. This goes back to, other epidemics we had, like with HIV, etc. It's easy to spread things to people. Whether it was made in the laboratory or not isn't the issue. It's about the fact of you are potentially contracting this and giving it to other people. So use your brain. Be safe. Use common sense and logic. Stop listening to people on the internet who they're trying to push an agenda, right? And don't come on here talking to me about vitamin B and vitamin C and y'all have an herbal remedy for this. Guys, use your brain. This is a pandemic. This is not the time to be trying to play doctor. This is the time to get you some water, get you some food, and go sit the hell down. This is not the time to be trying to get trips. Sit down and start thinking about the next 3 to 5 years. Because this is similar to 9/11. This is going to change the world. I promise you that. As Rahm Emanuel said back during the 2008 crisis, politicians never allow a crisis to go to waste. They're going to use this to enact laws and policies, and the economy and the world is going to look vastly different going forward. So again, I named my channel what happened to common sense? Because I want a lot of you to start using common sense. It's not about how many people are dying. It's about the spread, and it's about containing the spread. And it's about, do we have the infrastructure in place to handle this? And as of right now, we don't. So please do me a favor. I will be the coon, I will be the agent, and I will be the Uncle Tom. If you can, stay at home. If you can, try to stay away from the elderly people in your family. Please use common sense.